Gary Silberstein with the Silberstein Group, local realtor here in Mahwah, New Jersey, and I'm with Keller Williams, and I appreciate you joining me. Just wanted to go over today a quick update on real estate and what's been happening since COVID-19 over the last 6 weeks. I'm going to go through the precautions that myself and my team are taking. I'm going to talk about the statistics on where the market is now and where it was obviously 6 weeks ago, and where we're going moving forward. So let's get right into it. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, so the real estate industry post-COVID-19. Obviously, this has affected our lives. It's affected our businesses. It's affected people around us, our family, our friends. I think we're all at a point now, 6 weeks later, where we all know somebody or know of somebody who tested positive. So it's affecting all of us. It's stressful, it's concerning, and we're trying to just get through this together. And we will. It's going to take time. But like anything else, we'll get through it and we'll be stronger once this is all over. So as far as the real estate industry, let me move this over here. COVID-19 hit Bergen County in the middle of March and has quickly disrupted the real estate industry. As with any changing market, we've adjusted how we do business effective immediately. What measures are we taking for our clients? This is just sort of a handful of things that we're doing moving forward. And we had to shift gears very quickly after this happened in the middle of March. The way we used to do business with open houses and broker realtor tours and, in-person meetings, it's just not an option at this point. So we have to shift and pivot and continue to do business, because as much as it's difficult to look at this, this is an essential business, real estate. People have to move. If you don't have to move, you're not going to, but there are people that have to make a move. So on appointments, we're using booties, we're using masks and gloves and hand sanitizer, social distancing, obviously. COVID disclosure, let me go through that quickly. What that is when a listing is taken, it's a state mandated thing. This is not something that Keller Williams is doing or my team is doing, but you have to disclose if you or someone you know that you've been in contact with has tested positive in the last 14 days. So this is a disclosure that needs to be signed before the listing's taken. If there's any change moving forward, you would need to let your realtor know. Same with the buyer. So the buyer is going to sign that form when they see the property. If a buyer sees 5 properties on a Saturday afternoon, they need to fill out 5 forms. So that's very important to know. All the realtors are doing this right now, and it's a required document. And same situation with a buyer. If there's been a change and they've been infected, or somebody they've been in contact with has been infected, they need to let their agent know, and there are a few different versions of that form, so they would have to sign a new version to let people know. No public open houses, no broker open houses. Can't have 15, 20, 30 people in a house at once. It's just not an option. A realtor broker open house where we have agents coming in and previewing a property, and you have 30, 40 agents sitting in a kitchen eating, can't do it anymore. No marketing material at listings. This is a decision I've made. I feel that if a buyer is going to come into a house, anything they need is available online, whether it's a floor plan, a listing sheet, a flyer, who needs a business card? Phone numbers and email addresses and websites are all online. Just Google Gary Silberstein and it's there. Pens, to write information. Just think how many people are using pens. So there's no marketing collateral per se at the listing. One-on-one showings only. If you have to go into the house, this is an executive order by Governor Murphy. This has nothing to do with Keller Williams or myself, but it's one-on-one with the buyer, or doing virtual showings, but no children at the showings and no extended family, no friends. So if a husband and wife are coming and their friend down the street wants to go take a look at it with them, we're not doing that, unfortunately, right now. So it's just immediate family. I'm trying to do one-on-one showings. I showed a house recently where I was literally sitting outside because I've already seen the house. The buyer went into the house, and we're actually making an offer on that house this weekend. So you just have to be very careful. There's no need for myself and the buyer to be in the house at the same time. I can go in, walk through the house, preview it, come out. They can go take a look, come out, and then we could talk about it together. It's the safest way of doing it. So we've gone virtual. However, what does that really look like? Well, let's dive into that. Well, social media is here to stay. It's been around a long time between Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and well, Google Plus really didn't make much of a dent, in society. But social media is here to stay. I put my listings on social media. I market my listings through sponsored ads. I have a Facebook business page. I manage a mom and dad's group of 3,300 people. I market my listings through there. So there are several ways of getting the word out when you list a property, and social media is the best tool right now, in my opinion. So how are we doing buyer consultations? We're no longer going and grabbing a cup of coffee and talking about buying a house, or going to someone's home, sitting down at their kitchen table for 2 hours, discussing their home and discussing the market. Well, we've pivoted, and we're essentially doing everything through video conferencing. Between Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, Duo, I have access to all of them. So it's really whatever the buyer is comfortable and the seller is comfortable using. So we use it all. And in addition to that, listing appointments you can do online as well. I can share my screen right now, go onto the MLS, show you everything that's active, pending, and sold, and give you an idea as to what your house is worth. And you may be saying, well, don't you need to see my house? Well, sure, I need to see your house. But you can walk through your house with your phone or your laptop, show me the home. I'm in my 16th year selling real estate. I know what a house needs from walking through, whether I'm in person or whether I'm seeing it through a video conference. So that's the way we're doing it. And then working with a buyer, when they go to see a house and I want to go over comparables, I can get onto a Zoom call, pull up MLS, show them everything active, everything pending, and everything sold, and go through the entire market analysis over them and give them a suggestion of what what offer to make on the house. Walkthrough tours, if you haven't seen this already, this is great for a house that's occupied. Could be used for a vacant house, but I really love this for an occupied home because you're basically pre-screening a house before you even go into it. So if I'm a buyer and I'm looking at a house, I could go online, and if this is a colonial and there are 3 levels, a main floor, upstairs, and a basement, I could go into each of those levels, literally walk through the entire home, measure up each room, and then have floor plans available. So I've already basically pre-screened and pre-qualified that house before I've even stepped foot into it. In addition to that, I could go onto Google Earth, look at the property online, see exactly what's around it. I could see if it's near a school, if it's near a retention basin, is it near a highway, is it near the DPW? So I can go through the streets and navigate. I could also see the other homes in that neighborhood and their price points to get an idea, well, is this the most expensive house on the block? I have a listing right now that's priced at $729. That's the low point in that neighborhood. Most of the homes are $1.5 million to $2 million. So it's a very high-end neighborhood. So as you're navigating through Google Earth, you can easily see that. Offers and contracts are all digital. When I make an offer on a house, we use Dotloop. We're going to be switching to DocuSign, but everything is made online. I don't have to sit with the client physically and go through a contract. If they have questions, I can, just like we're doing now, pull this up online, go onto Zoom, share my screen, go through page by page of the contract, and then they can digitally sign. Same thing with a listing. I can go through the listing contract, all the paperwork, and then everything can be signed right afterwards digitally in the comfort of your own home. So we're prepared and we're ready for the shift. Now, let's go into the numbers. Let's talk about what's happening with the Mahwah market specifically. Since middle of March, this market obviously has changed. People have taken their homes off the market. Homes have expired that didn't sell, and they decided not to relist. Less people are listing their homes, and less people are buying homes. But here's the key. The serious buyers are currently out looking for houses. We'll show you obviously how many people are actually buying homes in Mahwah over the last 6 weeks. But people are buying that need to buy. You may have gone through a divorce and you have to move out. You may have already been under contract on your home in March and this hit, and now you have a place that you need to find a place to go, whether you're renting or you're going to buy. You may have accepted a job offer in North Carolina in March, and you were going to be putting your house on the market in April. Well, what are you going to do now? If the job offer is still there, you have to sell the house. So there are situations where people need to sell. So it's important to know that we're currently not in a buyer's market. We're kind of in a seller's market still, because there's very little inventory. Right now, there are about 55 homes for sale in Mahwah. Normally at this time frame in April, there should be about 100 homes for sale. So there's a big gap there, very little inventory, and homes are still moving. Let's go into residential properties only. So if you compare, really let me move this out of the way. From March 15th until now, active, under contract, sold, and withdrawn. These are the different categories I'd like to go over. Active, we're comparing 2020, the current year, to 2019, but just these 6 weeks, March 15th to present now, compared to March 15th to present in 2019. 18 homes were actively listed on the market. A seller said, I'm ready to go. I'm going to put my house on the market, regardless of the market conditions, regardless of the pandemic. I'm listing my house. So 18 people in Mahwah listed their single family homes. 39 last year. So that's a huge gap. But it's kind of impressive that 18 people said, I still need to make a move. Pending, under contract. This is the most important. These are the most important numbers that I want to go over. 19 people went under contract on their homes. That means 19 buyers made offers, went into attorney review, and went under contract since the pandemic hit middle of March. Last year, 24. Only 5 less. That's pretty impressive in my opinion. So there's really not that much of a gap here. Last March, 24 people decided to make a move and go under contract on a home, and 19 this year. That's really impressive in my opinion. That leads me to believe that people are out there and they're buying. Sold. This is not a great indicator, only because these people that sold in 2020, that closed in the last 6 weeks, they went under contract January, February, where it was a completely different market. So they were going to close regardless. But when you compare it to last year, 18 people closed, and this year 10. That is a direct correlation to the fact that inventory was very low going into the pandemic. We had an inventory issue January, February, and March. Very low inventory of homes in town. So I'm not so concerned about that. I just know that supply and demand, there were very few homes on the market, and there were a lot of buyers out there. And we're going to continue into a market going into May where there will still be very low inventory. Withdrawn. These are people that had their houses on the market in the last 6 weeks and decided to take it off the market when the pandemic hit. Most people, they're not going to take the house off the market in the springtime in a decent market, in a normal market. So these people decided to take their houses off the market, and they will relist down the road. So it's double the amount of people that took their houses off the market last year. Let's move into condos and townhomes in Mahwah. 19 people, sellers, decided to list their homes in the last 6 weeks as compared to 41 last year. So again, half the amount of people decided to list their homes, but 19 people said, I'm ready to go. I need to sell my condo or my townhouse, and I need to do it now. 13 condos went under contract in the last 6 weeks as compared to 35. Yes, there's a drastic drop there. I mean, look at the difference there. But 13 buyers decided to make offers and go under contract on a condo or a townhouse in Mahwah since this pandemic hit. So you're at 34 people between condos, townhomes, and single-family homes that said, I'm ready to go. I don't care what's happening. I need to make a move. And they did. These people are under contract and they will close, whether it's in April or May or June. But if these transactions go through, they'll end up going into the sold pile over there. As far as current sold, 18 sold this year compared to 22. Again, not focusing on the number right now because it's not a good indicator. Withdrawn, pretty much flat on condos and townhomes. Now look at the variance. Active homes are down 54% for residential properties and condos and townhomes compared to last year this time frame. Pending sales are down. Residential only 21%, 63% down condos and townhomes compared to last year. There's a big gap there. 44% less properties sold for single family homes and 18% less condos and townhomes sold. Withdrawals are up 100% for single family homes last year compared to this year, same time frame. And again, condos and townhomes are flat. So when you do look at this chart, it's pretty scary. All the numbers are in the negative. Less active homes, less under contracts, less sold, more withdrawals. You're going to see more homes being expired. But the key factor here that you need to look at are the numbers that I just discussed under contract. 13 homes this year for condos and townhomes, and then 19 single family homes. So 34 people decided, I'm going to make an offer, make a move, go under contract, regardless of the market conditions, regardless of the pandemic. So serious people are out there. And if you're looking at buying or you're looking at selling, the key is you need to work with a realtor or a team that knows their stuff. That's the most important thing. I personally have been doing this 15 years. I'm in my 16th year selling real estate. My statistics in Mahwah speak for themselves. In the last 4 years, I've been the #1 realtor for closed units and closed sales volume in town. I worked through the recession, and my business was barely affected during the recession. So my point is that you need to align yourself with a realtor that knows how to get through a difficult market. There are a lot of realtors out there. You have a lot of options. And a lot of realtors got into the business over the last few years because it was such a booming market. But it takes a lot to really stay in this business. And most realtors only stay in on average of 2 years. And it takes a lot of money to market these homes. Perfect example, that Matterport video that I showed you, the walkthrough tour, that's about $600 to do that, a virtual tour and floor plans. It's expensive. So unless you're doing the volume, you're not going to do that kind of marketing for the client. So you have to see what's in your best interest. You want somebody local, someone who knows the market, someone who knows how to market, and someone who could successfully navigate and walk you through this entire transaction to get where? To the closing table. That's the most important thing. Anybody could list a house, but to get to the finish line, that's the challenge. Anybody could sign up for a marathon or a triathlon. It's finishing. And finishing obviously at a good time. I don't want to list your house and be on the market for 6 months or a year. I want to list your house, get a buyer relatively quickly, get you the best price I possibly can, and align you with the best people between attorneys, home inspectors, contractors, lenders, title companies, to make sure that you have a good crew to be able to get you to the closing table. And we're going to get through this together, and we're going to get through this together, and we're going to be much stronger for it in the end.